Hello. Today I'm going to teach a Yin class centered, or certainly the language I'll be using, the cues that I'll be using, centered around the hips. The four basic movements of the hips. One is flexion, so knee comes quite high, higher than your hip, or not higher than your hip necessarily, but that's deep flexion, higher than your hip. Extension, when your leg moves behind your hip, so you feel some tension in the front of your pelvis. And then we'll also be working with the other two as well, probably less known, but there's adduction, so when you cross or bring your leg past the midline, or abduction, when you move your leg away. So we'll be working with these four basic movements, and certainly within those movements there's a whole lot of other movements, range of motion that we can explore today. So as always with the Yin practice, keep your props close by. Again, whether you have props, bolsters, blocks, blankets, whatnot at home or not, you can certainly substitute anything, like any pillow-like, any blankets, things that are going to bring you either closer to the earth or bring the earth closer to you, make you a little bit more comfortable with the softness or whatnot. So just make sure you have those close by. And we'll start reclined. Kind of the yiniest of all Yin postures is just lying down. So that's the way we'll start today. Now, when you do choose to lie down, you can lie directly on your mat. You can put props underneath you, so sliding a bolster underneath your knees, or one behind your head, a block behind your head if you'd like. Or, again, simply just lie down on the ground. And we'll start here just connecting with our... If there's any little adjustments, little fidgets that are finding stillness, I'm not really even on my mat, so I'll just move down a little. That's much better. Okay. So again, find just some final little movements before your intention is to be still. And then breathe deeply right from or down into your belly. Breathe into your chest. Hold your breath very briefly at the top. And then exhale. Right to the bottom. Breathe into your belly. Breathe in, expand and lift into your chest. Hold your breath briefly at the top. Exhale. And we'll do that one more time. Breathe into your belly and chest. Hold. Exhale. Lick your lips, just moisten them a little. And then softly close them. Place the tip of your tongue behind your two upper front teeth. Make sure your tongue is relaxed in your mouth for Ujjayi breathing. And your awareness might be pulled in many different ways, directions. So try to anchor yourself to something present. Now your breath is usually offered, and it is right now as well offered as that anchor. But it could be feeling, sensation, how your body feels on your mat, where the pressure points are. It could be sounds that you notice in the room as well, in the room that you're practicing. But just pick something and use that one thing as an anchor instead of toggling between things that you feel might be a better anchor than the previous one. And when your mind wanders, be consistent in your choice. You're choosing to come back to being anchored to the present moment. And try to keep your exhalations a little longer than your inhalations. certainly more known for the longer, more gentle holds. We'll start in some very gentle movement. So walk your feet a little closer to your bum, just start to rock your knees from side to side. And you can add the turn of your head, turning your head in the opposing way. Your knees are moving. And just a couple more times. And once you're centered, once again, extend your left leg up towards the ceiling. And then turn your thigh bone outwards and cross your left foot over to your right thigh. And relax the muscles around your pelvis here. And place your left hand on your inner thigh just to give a push there. Just a couple breaths. And lower up to the ground. Extend your right leg now up towards the ceiling. And then turn your thigh bone outwards, cross your foot to your left thigh. Place your right hand on your inner thigh again, just a firm but mindful push. And lower your right foot to the ground. Bring both knees up into your chest. If for any reason it's just uncomfortable to bring them both up at the same time, you can bring one up at a time, alternating. Pull your shoulders away from your mat, your nose a little closer towards your knees, and just move your feet. First your ankles. And then your foot point. And flex them back towards your shins. Point your toes. Flex them back. And one more time. And flex. And try to move your toes, move them independently. Spread them nice and wide apart. And just move them around a little bit here. And then curl them in, flex them wide, curl them in, flex them wide. And lower your feet back to your mat. Now walk your feet a little wider towards the outer edges of your mat and bring your knees, your inner knees together to touch. Now for some, if it feels like you can walk your feet off the edges of your mat and bring your knees, your inner knees even closer towards not only one another, but towards your mat, you can feel free to take a little bit more space in that way. We'll hold here for just a couple of minutes. Now, one thing in the practice, in the Yin practice, for the most part, nothing's absolute, but for the most part, you're trying to release muscular energy and relax into the shape of your body in the posture. Now, as the postures mature, as they go on in length and duration, you may find from time to time that sensation can build and it can move into discomfort. I encourage you, if you feel that the discomfort is provided it's not an unsafe sensation or feeling, to try to sit with it. You may find that it shifts or it subsides. But if at any point you feel that what you are experiencing is unsafe, or you just really need to move, please allow yourself that freedom to move. Never endure a posture that you feel in any way is not serving you. Always be very connected to your breathing. It'll inform everything that's really needed to know. So if you're breathing calmly, the features of your face reflect that calm. You're in a good space. And perhaps the invitation is even one that is inviting you to go a little bit deeper or further into the pose or into the sensation. As mentioned, please don't force anything. Walk your feet back towards one another. And take the soles of your feet together to touch. And here's where props, again, whether it's pillows or blocks, can be very handy in lifting or keeping the weight of your legs supported and lifted. So you can wedge the props just up underneath your upper outer thighs so that your legs lift a little bit, and then you feel much of the weight of your legs is held in the blocks. This will take some of the tension from your inner thighs and compression from your outer hips if that's where you're feeling it most. If you feel that both of those sensations can be held without the props, just take the props out to the side. Place your hands either on your inner thighs, they can be on your belly and chest, or just by your sides. And given the area of focus in the class is pelvis, hips, I'd like you to keep your awareness held there when we do come into the shapes. And if you're noticing in this particular posture, for example, you may notice that you're holding on to some muscular energy in your glutes or perhaps in your inner thighs. Try to be aware of that, or when you become aware of that, try to soften those areas. And if at any point in the practice, the duration of the hold, you start to notice that tension moves into your face, it could be your jaw, it could be the skin around your eyes and space between your eyes. And with awareness, you're unable to relax your face. You've probably moved too deeply into the so certainly the compassionate thing to do would be to bring yourself out to the degree that's needed in order to come back to calm breath, calm face. Come out of a pose, always use support, whatever support's needed in the movement to come out, because it can be a little sticky sometimes. So in this case, your hands can move to your outer thighs and just push your legs back together. And then from here, just a brief time to move. And that could be to bring your knees to your chest and rock from side to side or front to back if you'd like. You can keep your feet on the ground and rock your knees once again from side to side. Just a moment of release. The next posture, I've heard it called banana asana. So if you can imagine what a banana looks like, it's kind of a crescent shape. So we'll make that shape with our body now. So I'd like you to move your hips over to the left side of your mat. Start to kind of inch your torso up towards the top right corner of your mat and extend your legs towards the front right corner of your mat. So I guess back right corner with your head, your torso, and front right corner with your feet. And your hips here on the left side, try to keep your hips grounded. Notice if your left butt cheek is lifted. So try to just roll out of the crescent shape just a little bit so your left butt cheek can come down. Now here you have some options here. You can extend your arms overhead, and then with your right hand, grab your left wrist and just pull just a little more gently over towards the right side. So you bring more tension down the left side of your torso into your outer hip. One caution here is that if your fingers do start to tingle, you might be putting some pressure in a bundle of nerves that's behind your collarbones. Your collarbones push in when you lift your arms over your head. So if you do notice, again, there's a tingling that starts to be noticed, just lower your arms to the height of your shoulders, or even lower if that's what's needed to make that tingling stop. Now, with regards to your legs, you can deepen the pose again ever so slightly by crossing your left leg over top of your right leg. So that would be the adduction of your hip here. And once again, try to relax as deeply as you can into the shape. consistent in your exhalations, keeping them long. And always come out of your poses very slowly, again with whatever support in the movement is needed. So uncross your legs, lower your arms, bend your knees and shift your bum back towards the middle of your mat. Again, you may want to take just a brief moment to bring your knee or knees up into your chest. Deepen that forward fold by bringing your nose towards your inner knees. And then we'll move to the other side. So once your feet come back down, move your hips over towards the right side of your mat. So kind of angle it toward the left corner, and your legs extend towards the top left corner. Once again, just check in with your pelvis. Make sure your right butt cheek is on the ground, doesn't feel lifted, or your right hip point doesn't feel any higher than your left one. Take your arms overhead, cross or grab your right wrist with your left hand and just give a little gentle pull there. And if you did on the last side, and it's safe for you to do it on this side, cross your right leg, this time over top of your left leg, or right ankle over your left ankle. Now once you're in the shape, the position you intend to hold, and as I've mentioned, if pain starts to arise, please don't hold or endure that feeling. But as much as you can, try to hold in stillness and in ease the shape that you've placed your body in. If you notice tension in your face, just relax your jaw. Try to notice if there's a little space between your teeth. Generally, if your teeth are clenching or if they're together, that means your jaw is a little more active than it needs to be. So try to ensure that behind your softly closed lips, there's a little space between your teeth, and your eyes, whether they're open or closed, the skin around them is also just relaxed. your knees, uncross your feet, bend your knees, and shift back to the middle of your mat. Once again, take a brief release, knees to chest, or whatever feels needed. Now, if you do have your knees to your chest, you could rock up and down the length of your mat to come to your seat on all fours. We'll start the next posture actually from all fours. You can also roll over to a side and just push up off the side to get there. Now, in all fours, take your knees a little wider than your hips, so towards the edges of your mat, untuck your toes, and then move your bum back towards your heels. This is deep flexion in your hips here. This is child's pose. Walk your arms out in front of you. Now you can keep your forearms softly on the ground. You can place your forehead on the ground as well, or bring the ground up to you using a block. Now, if you'd prefer not to have your arms extended, maybe there's some discomfort in your shoulders in having them extended, you can thread them through your inner thighs or even wrap them around your outer thighs. Child's pose. Start to notice again a deeper breath here, even exaggerating maybe the first few. So you breathe into your belly, try to breathe into your back body, your side ribs, your chest, and then long, slow, and complete exhalations follow. Breathe in to bring yourself up to all fours. And once again, find whether it's a pillow or your bolster, find it close by. And we'll go right down onto our chest. So walk your hands a little further ahead of your shoulders and slowly lower down onto your chest. So we'll be moving into extension. It's a back bend, but extension here in our front body and in front of our hips. Now, depending on your comfort with back bending, you may find that just a very gentle lift of your chest is enough. Certainly have a back bend, and it is also, like I mentioned, extension of your hips. If you'd like to lift your chest a little higher, you can place your forearms, whether it's on your mat itself directly or your bolster, just finding a little bit more lift, more compression into your lower back, but more extension in the muscles in the front of your hips. Now, what you choose to do with your head, you can let your head hang, you can keep the weight of your head supported with a little more muscular energy through your neck. Relax your hands, relax your legs. I know in a yoga class we're always mentioning to push firmly down through the tops of your feet in a posture like this. Here, just relax, allow your heels to part. And as mentioned too, just let your head hang. If that's a lot of sensation in your upper back, the tissues of your upper back or neck, then again, you can support the weight of your head. You can also do that one final variation or option there is to support the weight of your head using a block or stacking a couple blocks on one another. move out of your back bend. So if you have any props underneath you, just push them over to a side. Make a little pillow out of your hands. Just place one cheek, place your right cheek on your top of your hands. And here you can slide your left knee up along the ground, just put it towards your left elbow. And try to breathe some space into your lower back here. Slide your left leg back and pull your hands a little closer towards your torso, and then with strong hands, push up to all fours. Once you're at all fours, round your back. Bring your knees a little further forward so they're underneath your hips, but round your back, pull your belly button up, push your middle back towards the ceiling. And once again, keep your props close by. So if you've enjoyed the practice so far, sometimes this is where my popularity ratings go down in the Dragon series. So we'll dig a little bit more deeply into the hips. I'm kidding. I'm sure everybody will be fine. So from here, step your left foot forward. Now for some, it's very uncomfortable to have their knee placed on any solid surface. So my suggestion there is you can certainly place a soft block or something soft underneath your knee, or you can place something at the top of your shin, so your knee is actually elevated off the ground, so it's not actually in contact with anything. And you may find that's the best way to hold the posture here. Now walk your left foot forward, and then sink your hips in the same direction. So we're extension in our back leg, flexion in our left leg. Now we'll start with with our hands on blocks. Again, you'll notice there's a back bend here, and certainly tension in the front of your pelvis on the right side. And you can modify both by moving your chest a little further forward, or if you'd like, you can place your hands on your left thigh and lift your chest a little bit higher. And try to allow gravity to be noticed pulling your hips forward or towards your mat. If you notice your left foot is putting any pressure on your mat that pushes your hips back, try to soften away from that energy. And this will be stage one of the posture here. We'll hold this shape for about a minute or so, a minute and a half. Where I often find myself when I start to dig a little bit more deeply, and what I mean by that is bring more sensation, certainly in tension into the front of my pelvis, my muscles in the front of my pelvis. I do start to notice that my jaw tends to be a little bit more active as well, or I notice my teeth are coming together. So if you notice that, just relax your face, or again, back yourself slightly out of the sensation of the pose until you can. Change this shape somewhat. You're going to bring your hands back down to some support, whether that's the ground or blocks if you have them. Walk your foot a little wider, so your left foot a little wider. And keep your hips coming forward and down. So we're moving our knee just wider than our hip now. But notice that the angle of your thigh bone has changed. Match the angle of the top of your foot to the angle of your thigh bone, and for most this will keep your knee in a more neutral place, safer place. Now again, you're welcome to keep your hands on blocks. If you'd like to start to move down, take some of the tension out the front of your pelvis on the right side, but move more into compression in your hip on the left side. You can bring your forearms down to a block or 2 blocks. Or for some of you that are quite flexible, maybe 1 block is enough, or you can move your forearms down to your mat. Now, there is an option here. It's not really a yin option, but it is an option. So I'll put it in. You can tuck your back toes, lift your knee. So as you might imagine, or you can see, there's going to be more effort involved here. We've got another minute in this shape. So take, again, whatever shape or variation of the shape works for you. Notice your breathing. Make sure, again, there's a good length to your breath. You've got your arms underneath you, so the upper part of your torso is supported. You can actually bring belly breathing in here as well into this shape. Notice your hands as well. You can bring a tension to your hands. If your hands are clasped or you're choking the life out of something, try to relax your hands. Sometimes, or oftentimes, I'll use just the thumb and index finger very softly, bring them softly together to touch. And if I notice myself pressing them in, that's when I'm trying too hard, or the sensation is a little bit too much for me in that particular shape. We'll move out of this one now. So take your hands down underneath your shoulders. You're going to probably want to do something to lengthen out your left leg. For some, even moving right up to downward facing dog. Pedaling your heels might be a nice release. There'll be a natural release on for your left hip on the right side when we move to the right side. So step your right foot forward. Once again, if you did on the last side and place something underneath your knee or your shin, just move it over to the left side here. We'll start with toes pointing forward, hips sinking in the same direction. And whether you have your hands on your blocks or you choose to place your hands on your thigh, just make that adjustment. Now, after a few decades of life behind us and the accumulation of movement habit patterns, postural habit patterns, oftentimes when we move from one side to the other, it doesn't feel quite the same. The shape may not be quite the same. Also, injuries play a role in this as well. So there's no need to force a certain shape to be symmetrical with the other side. Just come into the shape on this side that works for you. Mirroring as much as you can what you did on the last side. Please, again, don't force anything or don't put yourself in a space where you might injure yourself. Place your hands back onto your props. Move your right hand to the inside of your foot. Walk your foot a little wider. Once again, just to keep your knee safe, the angle of your foot matches the angle of your thigh bone. Again, moving slowly into the shape. So you can start with a couple blocks. And after 30 seconds or so, if you feel that hips are opening and you can move your forearms a little bit lower, then take a time, move the block aside, and relax your face, relax your hands. ding. Move slowly to come out of your pose. Step your right foot back. Once again, stepping your foot back, taking some time to move your spine or move to downward facing dog and pedal your heels. That's whatever is needed here. And we'll make our way onto our back for the final couple of postures. If your props are at the front edge of your mat, just bring your blocks with you or bolster. Now we'll move into an inversion. So in this inversion, take a block or a bolster. You can actually take a couple of blocks if you'd like a little more surface area. If it makes you feel more stable, take a couple blocks, push down through your feet, and then slide the blocks underneath your bum. So the blocks are too high, it probably won't be very comfortable, be in the inner curve of your lower back. So just push them a little further forward so they feel more like they're wedging, they're a wedge between your bum and the ground. And extend your legs up towards the ceiling. You can keep your feet grounded if you'd prefer. So your hips are lifted here to a small degree above your heart, above your head. So that's what denotes an inversion. Now you can add the lift of your arms as well. And if you have tension in the back of your legs, bend your knees, allow your thighs to come a little closer towards your torso so you're not using a lot of core strength. And when you do, if you do lift your arms, just relax your wrists so you can see your palms. Gentle curl comes to your fingertips. And if your shoulders are off your mat, just soften your shoulder blades back onto your mat if you can. Have some props on here. Just move them over to the side. And before getting into Shavasana, we haven't done as much with adduction or an internal rotation of our legs here, our hips. So take your bum over to the left side of your mat and cross your left leg over top of your right leg. Now in my body, this is quite a deep twist. I get quite a lot of feeling out in my outer hip here. If the sensation is too deep in your body, then you're welcome to change to a one knee twist if that helps. And again, support your leg with props. For those of you taking this option, again, left leg crosses over your right one, just like you would have in eagle legs if you're familiar with that pose. And then shift your bum just a little over towards the left and take your knees now over towards the right. Your arms extended out at shoulder height. You can play with the position of your arms, lifting them higher or lower, again, depending on what you're feeling. And your gaze can stay up towards the ceiling, or you can look towards your left hand. And again, just try to stay relaxed throughout the duration of the posture. 3 minutes. out of the shape, you unwrap your left leg from your right leg. And then with both feet on the ground, slowly come out of your twist. Center back to the middle of your mat. Again, it might be just a few breaths in stillness that is needed here, or bring your knees, again, just gently or a little bit more deeply up into your chest. It can be a little unsettling for the body to move from a deep, long-held twist from one side. Just go directly to the other side. So as mentioned, if there's a little movement or a couple breaths in stillness that needed, take the time for that. When you're ready to move to the other side, shift your bum to the right side of your mat, cross your right thigh over top of your left thigh. And slowly and gently lower, twist towards the left side of your mat. And keep your arms extended out. And if you can mirror the turn of your head, whether you kept your gaze up or turned towards your opposite hand, so turn in this case towards your right hand if you're adding the twist up into the top of your spine. Right leg uncrosses from your left one, and center yourself on your mat. And just a brief moment in movement, and then we'll conclude, as we always will and should in a posture practice, with Shavasana. So take your time to set yourself up in Shavasana, a comfortable Shavasana. Nothing quickly or happens very quickly in Yin, so like I said, take some time. Bolster underneath your knees. You could lie over top of a bolster or elevate your feet on a bolster a couple blocks if you'd like. Again, just find some comfort. Breathe in through your nose, breathe into your belly, into your chest. Hold at the top for a moment and then open your mouth. Breathe into your belly, into into your chest. Hold at the top and then open your mouth and let it go. Once again, just moisten or lick your lips. Very gently seal them closed. Just move to a very natural pattern, rhythm of breathing. Notice if you're exerting any control over that pattern or that rhythm, and try to relax even away from that in Shavasana. I encourage you to take more time in Shavasana. We'll bring us out now. You can roll over to a side. Take a breath or two in the fetal position. And then come back up to your seat or to a seat. Thank you very much for sharing your virtual practice with me today. I hope you're able to carry this calm, this peace that you cultivate through your breathing, through your practice throughout the rest of your day. Wonderful day, everyone. Namaste.